Checking for any audio loops. Hearing none, I will say that this is the Old Tube Radio Network on your 11-meter radio at 27085. That would be channel 11. If you are in the RF zone anywhere, everywhere else at oldtuberadio.net for the live stream, and perhaps the Google YouTube video stream as well. Hello, my name is Dennis, your net control operator tonight. And of course, we are here to listen for, talk about, and do that old tube radio thing, the 11-meter Class D citizen radio service, glow-in-the-dark tube radios, manufactured from 1958 to about 1978, thanks to our collectors taking some time out of their Saturday evening activities. I imagine we will hear a few of those radios checking in. But first, we'll start with the directed net roll call, the shortwave listeners, and see who is out there listening. The bands have been pretty weak today. Haven't heard much of anything on any band. I wonder what conditions were like in your respective neighborhood. If you're playing the home game, pull out the sheet for the 6th of July, 2019, and we will begin by looking for our 00. And if I go over to the big page, I think that indeed Cheyenne, Wyoming, right at the top. Hello, Mr. Bill. Checking in, not sure what the weather is like. We probably sent you some nice stuff. I think last week you were in the middle of a rainstorm or something, but hope all is going well now. And thanks for checking in and getting us started off. You can follow along to see if you get checked in at oldtuberadio.net. You should see your number, SWL number, in the word checked in, if indeed you are like SWL number 1, who gets the cosmic check-in. SWL number 2, Mr. OBP, who has been hanging around here in the Old Tube Radio Network even before it was the Old Tube Radio Network. Say hello to Kevin over on the video stream. He's out there waving a hand along with some of you as well. We'll talk to you in a little bit. SWL3, I'm going to get a proxy check-in for SWL3, who may or may not fire up a rig tonight. SWL4. SWL5, I did see Mama Rose the other day. She's looking good. She is doing okay, which is a good thing. How about SWL6? SWL7.
SWL7, checking in.
Checking in and sounding good, and we have rumors that Mr. Ed, SWL7, may be hanging out in the Old Tube Radio Shack tonight and checking in some items of interest. Let me switch over to the video. Hi, everybody. For those of you who are watching, we'll go over to, I think I have it up for the S-meter, such that it is the wimpy digital yucky S-meter, so you can give yourselves a check-in as you come across the airwaves tonight. Thank you, 7. SWL 11 and 12, Jim and Lisa with email check-ins, if I can get the computer to fire up here with the right numbers. SWL 13. And of course, you can always check in at oldtuberadio.net. I will keep an eye out for anybody that might be checking in that way. SWL 14. I do not have the crossband up, so if anybody is listening that does have the 2-meter simplex frequency up and running, as always, I appreciate any relays on that. SWL 15. I have a note to check in Fred, so I will do that. Mr. Desert Rat, one of the net controllers. SWL 16. SWL 17. Shortwave listener 18. SWL 19. I believe I have a note to proxy in SWL 20, who may be listening somewhere at oldtuberadio.net.
Yeah, I'm listening right here. No proxy this week, but next week. Please check me in 29 and 84 in his extended family.
I will do. My note was bogus. Maybe Bozo Control left that. Well, it's good to hear you live in the air chair tonight. And I'll be interested to see what's on the workbench in progress. Thanks for checking in.
Roger, I'll be checking this one in later. How well do you hear it?
I hear you okay. Noise level's about S7. You are a little over S8. Audio is okay. Over.
Okay. All righty, and then I'll try the radio range expand later. Okay. And then I might have another one later on after this one. And hopefully Ed will be listening to that. Okay. We'll check back with you later.
All right, it's not super loud. I'm imagining that's sans range boost, but the audio sounds nice and signal looks good, so we'll look forward to that. Thanks.
Roger. Talk to you later.
And a station we can always hear because he has the infamous WLGR. That is the world's longest ground rod that reaches down into probably one of those earthquake faults that we are so notorious for here in California and that have been active. Not generically in this area where I am at, where the Old Tube Radio Network is beginning from, but we did, those of us who were paying attention felt the earth move a couple of times from the shaking fault about 150 miles away, I think. Something like that. So we'll see if we can keep our feet on the ground tonight. Hello, Mr. JT21. Said he's cleaning up limbs and debris from the thunderstorm on Thursday. So he's taking a much needed rest, but we will get you checked in, sir. And as usual, it sounds like the ground rod came through with flying colors. SWL 23. Shortwave listener 24. SWL 25. Sun is still up, not quite in the gray line here. Probably people out barbecuing. I think we hit a high of 98 today. In the Radio Shack, we are down to cool 81. Probably get a lot of check-ins before we sign out tonight around 10 o'clock. And who knows, maybe we'll get some E-skip beaconing in. Let's head over to, where are we going? Page 2, SWL 27. Got a proxy check-in for SWL 29. Then that takes us over to the next occupied number, SWL 31. And let me go over to the big board. I haven't seen who is out and about. Up there in the balcony, or somewhere near it. Robert Treese, SWL 31, Hendersonville, Tennessee, beginning into Central California here tonight. Hello, and thanks for listening into the Old Tube Radio Network. A lot of you listening, hello to Delaware, up in the front row, Ohio. Another Tennessee station, Bolivar. Don't know where that is. Western Union, Ohio, Chesapeake Bay. Out there in Maryland, a couple of California stations. More Maryland, Dallas, Georgia, of course. Marina, California. Maybe that's one of the Buddy Bass people. Hello in Marina. Englewood, Colorado, listening, I'm sure, on his receiver. See if we make it through there. Hello to Blackpool, Canby, Oregon, looking for the short skip. And Florence, Kentucky, and a host of others to be tuning in here tonight. 27085, the Old Tube Radio Network, looking for SWL 32. Glow-in-the-Dark Radio is coming up after the roll call. SWL 33, Bozo Control at the end of the hallway, running down from Studio B where the Jingle Singers are awaiting. Do we want to do anything now? Are they? No, they're not quite ready, so we'll wait till after the roll call. SWL 35. And I did see 35 on the list. Oh, wait, that's right, because he checked in. He's our 002. He gets things started off, so that's the 2-for-1 check-in. Thanks, Bill. Hope all is going well with the trailer there. I think it is the season to get everybody's radios working and put up the mobile antennas. SWL 36. shortwave listener 37.
37 checking in with a question.
This is the question frequency. Go ahead, over.
Okay, since you used to work with television and everything, I don't know if you hear what's going on. What's with this Nextel stuff? They're canceling out a lot of channels right now. You know anything about that?
Nextel. Nextel is not a television thing. Nextel is a phone thing. So they wouldn't have anything to do with anything. Unless you're referring to what's called the swap auction, which I don't even think I can explain that in 25 words or less. Think of the airwaves like we are on here as expensive real estate. Now, the Citizen Band Radio does not have to pay anything for this expensive real estate on the 27 megahertz band, but the TV stations are in some frequencies that the telephone companies, i.e. Nextel, Motorola, Verizon, would like to grab, one, for the expanding cell phone service and maybe Wi-Fi communications, and like being in the location, they're willing to pay the FCC billions, that's with the B, billions of dollars, to say, hey, you know, these guys that are living here on this frequency, we'd like to live there, and we'll pay you to move them. We'll pay you to get rid of them. That may be what you're referring to, but I'll leave it at that. That's what's happening. The airwaves are an expensive real estate that the government, U.S. government licenses or doesn't license or lets you use. So who knows? 27 megahertz could be next, but because of the skip, it's not the best frequency. Up in the television channels and things, up higher frequencies where you don't get interference, it's great for line of sight communications for telephones and Wi-Fi and things like that. And Fresno is in the midst of the television auction swap. That's why some of your stations have moved from the channels they were on to the channels they are on now, because those frequencies are being partitioned and sold off to the highest bidder. Okay, I don't know if the answer is your question, but I don't want to take too much time, but I think that's what you might be referring to, over.
All right, well, what I'm saying is, see, a lot of some of our channels right now have been blocked out due to Nextel, something or other, with, see a problem I've got the, going through AT&T, DirecTV, and they're having a battle with that there right now. They've offered more money, whatnot, but I was kind of curious if you knew much about it there, but that's where I'm at. A lot of our channels, or I shouldn't say a lot of, but some of my channels that I watch, like 24 is gone, 47 is gone, and they say some of the Fox networks are gone, and they had a list of something like 100 channels that are gone right now due to this argument over money, I guess.
Okay, that's a different thing. Now, the argument over money, the rights to carry something. You pay me, and we will distribute you. And then they'll say, here's the cost. And I think, no, that's too much. We'll see you later. You've got to take this price. So if they don't agree, then nobody agrees. It's like a union contract. You're in what's the word? Impasse. So that's another thing. It's all about money. Don't you love it here on 27085, where it's not about the money. Same thing with amateur radio. It's not about the money. It's about using the frequency and doing public service or having fun or whatever. That's the way it should be. But they're making money. That's why we don't run commercials here. You don't run commercials on the old Tube Radio Network because nobody's making money, and that's a good thing. That means nobody's. What did Jim used to say? No one's going to get their panties in a bind because somebody didn't get some money. All right, we will move on, but that's the other thing. It's all about money. So my suggestion is throw away your television and do something else.
Mwanda's in there laughing now. You got her going on that one. So she's thinking, yeah, cold day and you know what. All right, thank you, Dennis. I was just kind of curious. I just wonder if I was going to have to change companies we're getting it to or what. I'm not sure yet, but it's getting irritating for there are certain shows we watch on those channels that aren't getting able to watch. I can't watch NASCAR.
All you have to do is wait for the multi-billion-dollar companies to negotiate with the multi-billion-dollar companies, and when they figure it out to make their billions of dollars, then you will be able to watch television. Unless, of course, you put up an antenna, but that'll only give you local stuff. Or you throw your television away and do something else. Thanks for checking in. The old Tube Radio Network. We have radios coming up after the roll call, which we will continue. SWL 39. And this is coming from a dyed-in-the-wool 40-year television guy veteran. It's like smoking, you know. Maybe you can do without it. Maybe there's something better to do. SWL 40. SWL 41. SWL 42. Yeah, ask OBP. There's a guy who knows about Nextel. He's probably got a couple. Kevin, you got a couple of Nextel coffee mugs over there, I bet. SWL 43. SWL 44. Everybody's still outside enjoying the weather. SWL 45.
45. You're sounding good. Sounds like a little stick trying. Back to you.
Maybe. I don't hear it here. You are really loud. You are really loud tonight. Sounding good. I'll give you a double click on the check-in button there. Thanks. SWL 46. Shortwave listener 47. SWL 48, Mr. KPLO Sam, I do believe I saw you waving a hand at oldtuberadio.net saying you'll try on the radio. I am listening. 48 checking in, making it into my low antenna here. Good job. Thanks for hanging out from Madera Town into Midtown. Thanks. SWL 49.
Hello, Dennis. Is this thing working over?
Yeah, it's working. The audio sounds really good. It's, as Tim Tron would say, it is not piss weak and yellowy. Sounds good, over.
Good deal. Well, you know, just getting a few of the radios back over to the new ham shack here, or the new radio room, and, you know, most of these haven't been powered on in an extended period of time now, so glad to see that the old Brownie is still working. This is, of course, the old 49er checking in. Hope you guys had a really nice 4th of July. I know I sure did, out with the family at the water park, and we had a blast. So, thank you for the check-in, Dennis, and wishing everybody out there a fantastic evening.
Yeah, the 4th was great. I took a real quick drive to the old stomping grounds in Manhattan Beach. I walked up the hill and watched probably over, I'm trying not to exaggerate, over 100 displays going on across the LA area from Malibu all the way out through Palos Verdes. It just, I'll talk about it later. It was just an unusual experience with constant noise, these things going on. Boy, that radio sounds excellent. The audio's excellent. It looks good on the meter at S8. Which shouldn't sound very good. Sounds great. I've got. You can check the replay out in the video and give yourself a radio report. But the audio is just stellar, and really sounding good for the signal coming in. Thanks for checking in, and it sounds like we might have some radios for the list coming up.
Yeah, we sure will. And yeah, we're just using an old A99 up on top of a vent pipe on the roof at the moment. So hey, I'll take that S8 all day long for the setup that I'm currently running. All right, again, thanks for the check-in. Take care.
Thanks. The Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radios Glowing in the Dark. We are in the direct-to-net roll call on page 2. But we are going to be checking in those radios pretty soon. Let's try SWL 50.
And he would be here.
He would be here and being checked and sounding good as well. Thanks for listening in to the not-so-shaky net control here. I do believe that we did not build net control over any fault line, at least that I know about. Let's try SWL 51. SWL 51, hello, Dave. We've got the X in the square for you, sounding good here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for listening. SWL 52. Shortwave listener 53.
Hello, Dennis. 53 checking in.
He's like a big cat, just hiding out there in the weeds, ready to pounce at the bottom of page 253. As always, you are sounding good, Bob.
Thank you.
Over to page 3, SWL 54.
Can you proxy N54, please?
I can do that. I think I had a little note off to the side that I needed to do that, and that is what I will do for Larry. Thank you. Over to SWL 55.
55 checking in.
55 on the outskirts of Shaver Lake. Shaver Lake south or north or east or west. I'm not sure exactly where, but you're sounding good.
Thanks, Dennis.
SWL 56.
Good evening, Dennis and the net. 56, just for kicks.
And from the land of sky blue waters, Phil is doing a good job here tonight. Thank you, sir. Also want to say hello to Bob and Steve out there. Bob in Oxford, Steve in Westchester. It said they saw on Google Earth that my tower was moving right to left. Just barely. You know, you leave a little slack in the guy wires on purpose so that things can move around. Saying they sent gifts to the jingle singers. We ask you not to do that. It's sort of like feeding the bears in Yosemite. They come to rely on that. And then they won't do a darn thing unless they get a treat. We'll see what happens. I may have to throw them a candy bar here to get them to sing for us at the end of the roll call. Thank you, guys. Next, we've got SWL 58.
58 checking in from the sunny south side of the ditch bank. You know, Dennis, I was thinking today, it sure seems to be a lot easier to keep these Radio Shacks warm in the winter than it is to keep them cool in the summer. Can't figure out why. Thanks, Dennis.
That is because the little tiny fan on the back of the radio, if there is one, doesn't generate a lot of cooling power, but man, all the stuff inside generates the heat. I managed to get it down to 80. No, it's back up to 82 in here with the tube radios going. But you know, the tubes like the heat. It's the transistors that have the problem. So if it's hot in the Radio Shack and you're running tubes, do not worry. And Jeremy is right. For some reason, the Biola ditch banks are at a certain angle that they get the last little vestiges of sunlight over the Central Valley here. So their skip lasts a little bit longer. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis.
SWL 59. SWL 60.
Thank you much, Dennis, and doggone it, while we got the floor here for just a second there, we want to say hello to Bel Air. Doggone it, I ain't spoke to them in a while. And thank God everyone is safe after that crazy 4th of July we had. SWL 60 checking in the 2527, Mr. Jake's base.
Sounding good. I guess the rule of thumb is to try not to live on a fault line, which is pretty hard to do in most parts of California, I suppose. Of course, our last big shake was the Coalinga earthquake back in the mid-'80s, at least for this area, although a lot of us who weren't jumping around did feel the second seismic shock. I was driving to Southern California when the first one went off, so didn't know that. But anyway, everybody's safe and sound, and the towers are still up. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis, and doggone it, I didn't feel either one of them. But I did notice, and I blamed it on maybe having a ghost in the house, the melon on top of the table. I told her it started rolling around. And I said, oh boy, we're not alone in this house. But that's what it was. It was that first earthquake. Hey, okay, Dennis, let her rock and roll.
And we will do that. Real Radio is coming up during the tube radio time here after the roll call. Thanks, Joe, for checking in. Looking for SWL 61.
61 checking in, Dennis.
Everybody sounding good tonight. Loud signal, sir. Copenhagen Kid is what it says. SWL 61. Dean, thanks for checking in.
Thanks, sir.
SWL 62.
Good time, Dennis. The 662 checking in from downtown Clovis. On frequency and pretty close on time.
Yeah, I think we're close on time. I'm trying to expedite things here so those who are warming up their radios will be able to check them in. Your clock on the wall is telling you true. Thanks, Rex. We got you checked in. SWL 63. BB and all those representing all those who listen in from New York tonight. Speaking of which, is anybody out there from New York tonight? I don't see them on the big board, but sometimes they check in somewhere. I'll keep an eye out. Let's try a little bit close to home with SWL 64. SWL 65. Was that 65 over? Okay, I think the first time the audio didn't quite make it through, but it's sounding good now. Thanks, Eric. SWL 66. Shortwave listener 67. SWL 68. Haven't heard a 69 report, but he's probably out there doing something. I'll proxy and Ken. SWL 70.
Right here.
He is right there. And I will put an X in the square for the Mike Tango Sierra. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Dennis. I hope I didn't startle you. Thank you very much, and have a warm evening.
That's not hard to do. I can feel the air blowing out of the vent up there with the evaporatingly cooled air. I don't know if we're still in the 90s or not. We might still be in the 90s outside, but it's doing okay. Way better than it was the last couple of years. I think my radio's happy. Thanks for checking in. And checking in will continue. SWL 71. There is Stan with the Mr. Announcer icon. Dallas, Georgia at the ready to pick up any E-skip. Well, I think actually that's going to be beyond the E-skip tonight, but thanks, Stan, for taking some time on your Saturday evening. I got to adjust the high-old boom. It's not in the right spot here. There we go. Digital listener Stan out of Dallas, Georgia is waving a hand to everybody. Let's try SWL 72. SWL 73. SWL 74. Shortwave listener 75. SWL 77. I heard Dennis in earlier. I'll get him checked in when we were out doing the radio checking stuff. SWL 79. SWL 80. Shortwave listener 81, who I think is back connected to the coiled cord at the Central Valley QTH. Made it back. Drove about 8,000 miles. Hope you weren't on one of those recumbent bicycles. Hope you had some type of motorized vehicle. No condition to check in over the air. Hope everyone had a good 4th. I think those of us who weren't on a fault line had a great 4th. Good to have you back, Steve. Sounds like everything worked out safe and sane, and really appreciated you kind of braving the time zones and staying up late with us during the trip. It's kind of nice to have the digital two-way stuff to keep everything going. Got you checked in. Let's try SWL, speaking of the ditch banks, SWL 82.
Yeah, Dennis, if you can proxy in 82, he's Elmering some future SWLers up at 4-H camp at Shaver Lake there. So bringing up the next generation. Thanks, Dennis.
That's a good thing. Reminds me of my Elmers. One who is actually here in town and gave me my novice test back in the day when you did that. And my original Elmer who taught me exactly that, what parasitic elements meant. I could not believe that we were going to go up on the roof of the apartment and he was going to string 3 different wires and they wouldn't be touching anything. And the coax would connect to one of them and they would work as a beam. I said, that can't be possible. Wires have to be touching. That's what parasitic's about. All right, good deal. We will get Ron checked in, and also we will do the SWL 84 check-in as well. SWL 85. SWL 86, 87, and 88 checked in via prior request. Over to SWL 89. SWL 90. I think I've got 90 from a prior request to be checked in, which I will do. I'm fumbling with all the paperwork here. There is paperwork involved. This is a job here. Don't take this lightly. We got to get everybody checked in who wants to be checked in. SWL 92. Nothing heard from Madera. If anybody heard Madera out there, let me know. SWL 93. SWL 98.
Checking in, Dennis.
Hello, Dave. Fresno Dave. Moved away from the fault lines out there in Monterey. I don't know where Monterey, if it's close to the San Andreas. I think it's off to the west. It sounded good. We got you checked in.
All right, thanks, Dennis.
And a station I talked to earlier this afternoon sounding really good on the Galaxy radio. I'm not sure if he's by the radio net. We'll give it a try from where he's at, which is a little farther away. SWL 103. All right, well, I'll be listening in for Jeff. I'll give him a pre-check-in because he sounded really good earlier. But he said he was going to be at a different location. But I'm pretty sure I should be able to hear him when he's out there. Next, we go to SWL 109. Shortwave listener 110. SWL 111. There's somebody trying to check in. Was that 111? I'm checking the board. Sometimes Robert will want to check in early. I thought I saw him on Facebook. I'm going to get him checked in. What was he doing? Some tower stuff or something, I think. SW, I know this guy's out there. SWL 114.
114, checking in.
Sounding good as always, Wayne. SWL 114 has got the X in the square. Thank you.
Thank you.
Radios are coming up. Those glow-in-the-dark radios don't go away if you've got one to check in. Get it warmed up. We'll be here till 10 o'clock at least to do that item. Over to the digital side, SWL 128. I think the weather is cooperating for our stations this Saturday. Hello, Mr. John Lee. Saying everybody stay safe. Whether it's an errant sparkler or an errant fault line here in California. Now we're doing okay. We're doing okay from the Central Valley. Thanks for checking in. Over to SWL 131.
131, checking in, downtown Clovis.
Downtown Clovis town. Somewhere near the corner of Pulaski and 5th. Sounding good here in Midtown Fresno. John, we've got you checked in. SWL 133.
Good evening, Dennis. 133 checking in.
133 checking in. Dave out there, northwest Fresno. Delta Echo Foxtrot. Thank you, sir. And then we go to Quebec Lima Golf, SWL 135. Got a note to proxy in Mr. Green Arrow. Well, if he's not here, we'll be seeing a lot of his great shack photos on some of the radios that check in. So if you're listening, Cliff, thanks for that. We've got a proxy check-in for SWL 137. And over to Tony. I think that's Charlie, Portugal Charlie up in Corscold, SWL 145.
Can you proxy in 145, please?
We can do that. Get Tony checked in. They're in Corscold. Thanks for that. And then, station I know who is or was listening, SWL 147, giving us the report. Checking in early from Kakalaki, said he's going to be away from the computer at 11, but maybe turn later. Radio very quiet today and yesterday. Yes, indeed it was. I listened in on 20. I barely heard anything. I didn't even hear the nets on 40 meters. I thought I was hearing weird radar sweeps on 11. Checked 10-meter beacons. It was not a good day for pipsqueak radio. You have to have some power and a good antenna, I think. He said there was some noise at the beginning of the week. A lot of action on 38, 385 on the lower sideband and all that stuff. That's our DX beacon. Anyway, Neil, thank you for listening in when you're listening in. We got you checked in. Let's head over to one of the other Corscold stations, SWL 195. From Corscold, hopefully the wind has blown away all the sulfur particulate matter and everything is going okay up there. You're sounding good. We've got you checked in. And over to SWL 226. Be listening for anybody that would like to check in that I may have missed. Who else is listening in here tonight? Hello to the mighty Juliet Whiskey. John in Iowa is listening in, tuning in on the video side. In fact, speaking of video, let me switch back over to the control room here if I can do that. And when I switch cameras, messes up the audio a little bit. I think I've got, no I don't. I got to turn on some lighting here for the video, and then we'll get to it. So when I come back, your glow-in-the-dark radios and things of that nature, because this is the Old Tube Radio Network. Back in a moment. Yeah, was there a breaking station? Go ahead. All right, you almost sound like you're on sideband to me. Not sure if I'm not on your frequency, but I can tell 650 is waving a hand, almost in the spread spectrum mode here tonight. Thanks for jumping into the Old Tube Radio Network. And I will be right back. The Jingle Singers won't be far behind out here. Set the audio stream here with the tube radios. Jove, I think we got it. You're listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Greetings to you, wherever you are. For music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
Hello, everybody. The station for you, the Old Tube Radio Network. There we are. Let the audio catch up to the video. My name is Dennis, your net controller for the Old Tube Radio Network, where for the last well over 30 years, here on Saturday evenings, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time, we listen for, talk about, and just go gaga over those classic tube radios from 1958 to 1978. You might have one. And if you do, we hope we can hear it tonight. The Old Tube Radio Network is standing by. And if I can get the chair to stop. If I go crashing down out of the picture here tonight, it's because this little office chair that I'm sitting on is about ready to collapse. OTR standing by for Radio 1.
45.
Hello, 45. Hello, Paul. Sounds like Paul is in the Old Tube Radio Shack tonight at 8:43. And we'll go back up to you, sir, and I think I know what manufacturer radio that is, but I don't know which model that it is. So over to you, perhaps on a Browning radio. Over.
Yeah, you're right about that. This is my Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV -40 channel.
The Mark IV 40 channel. Let's see if I can give us a look at the Mark IV 40 channel. A little bit different, actually a lot different than the previous Mark IIs and Mark IIIs, but audio-wise, sounding like an Eagle should. This one built or produced after the FCC officially opened the frequencies up above channel 23 and channelized them in the 10 kilohertz steps and created channels 24 through 40. But here we are on channel 11 and it's sounding good. Take a transmission.
Yeah, this is a hybrid also, as you know. So, not as reliable as the Mark IIIs, but I think it's a little bit louder. It's the last one they made, and I think they put a little bit extra into the thing. It's a real super radio. You gave me a little show a while back, found a cool solder joint in the thing, and got it going again. I was sure happy to see that. Luck's out for a change. Back to you, Dennis.
Sounds good. The audio is good. Signal is good. I don't have the S meter up, but I'm sure you would be pleased. I guess what I could do, let me put up, I need to do that just for an audio check here. Put up the Orban loudness meter, make sure that everything is where it is supposed to be. I'm not, a lot of you listening out there are more well-versed on Browning than I am. Not sure if the Browning manufacturer laboratories made the Mark IVs or if they were made somewhere else. I'm showing that there was a 23-channel version of the Mark IV, but this is what Paul is on the 40-channel version. And my information shows 1977 and $900, basically really close to $900. That was a lot of money for a radio. I know they sold a lot of them because there's still a lot of them out there, but you really had to love Brownings, I think, to spend $900 back in 1977.
I'll tell you this, to get back to the radio itself, the microphone I'm using is a CS1 custom made by Turner. It's a real nice mic. It's capable of taking quite a few channels on it. One of Turner's better ones. So I wish I could get the Browning mic to go through this radio. I'm looking, someday maybe I'll find one. Even when I find one, it's usually bought or overpriced one way or another. Back to you, Dennis.
Yeah, from what I recall, we don't show it with the picture here. There was more of a standard deck-style microphoning that went with that. I don't think it was the standard banana-style mic, but I could be wrong about that. Radio number 1, thank you for getting us started off here. Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV. That's Paul, who is up in the North Fork area, up in the foothills. I don't know, what would you say, 1,700 feet, 2,000 feet above my location here north and east, about 35 or 40 miles as the radio signal flies, and he does quite well signal-wise in here tonight. Thanks for getting us started off, and we'll go back to you for another transmission. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I don't think you'll have to check frequency on this thing, but if you feel like it, go ahead. I'm kind of curious. I believe I found it a little bit high. But as they change as they warm up and everything, and, you know, I don't have to tell you anything. So, you know, if you have a chance to do that, I appreciate it. If not, that's fine. And thanks for checking it, Dennis.
All right, those watching the video saw me reach over into the radio rack here. I pressed the lower sideband button, and you sounded excellent. I went to upper sideband and just a little slightly off. So you're right on. That is, I'm assuming it is not crystal control. I may be wrong. I don't know. Browning might have still used crystals at that time. I have a feeling that they weren't using crystals on that radio, but maybe they were. Right on frequency. Over.
That's good news. There I go jumping the switch, making the dinger a little bit slow. Anyway, thanks, Dennis, again for checking it in.
Thanks for bringing it by in the Old Tube Radio Network. Let me say, there's New York in. Hello, Smarty Jones. Waving a hand from New York in the late evening hours of Saturday evening. Also hello to Corey, who purchased the W2 IHY 8-band EQ for the mobile. I'm trying to think, what is that? Does that run off of Wallward? I imagine it does. So you'd be able to run it off of the 12 volts. Does it have a noise gate? I know they've got everything else. Yeah, that'd be good. You're going to have somebody on the other end and do the EQ test. Sometimes it's hard when you're mobile to listen to another radio to get your settings put in. That should work out well. And TJ Washington, hello. Long time no hear. At least a week, right? The KLJ 2125 is checking in. We got you checked in, sir. No problem there. And hello to our new stations tuning in at oldtuberadio.net in Oceanside. I was down in your area for the 4th of July, actually a little bit north, up there, up in Manhattan Beach. Did you guys feel Oceanside? You might have felt rock and rolling out there in Ridgecrest. Hello to Minnesota and Washington, a couple of stations. Meade and Spokane, waiting for the E-skip to come in. We are waiting for Radio 2. OTR standing by.
Number 7.
SWL7, hello, Mr. Ed. I'm penciling you in here as Mr. Ed walks up into the Old Tube Radio air chair. I can say that. The Old Tube Radio air chair at 8:50. And is going to tell us what wondrous glow-in-the-dark item of interest he has over.
It's big, it's green, it's a Trem TR27 Echo with the Electro Voice 638 microphone attached.
Let me swap a picture to this TR627. I'm getting to know... No, the camera won't come up. There it is. I'm getting to know that radio has a bit of a thump when it keys in there. All right, let's get our camera guy. I don't know, everything is out of frame tonight. Maybe it's because it's so big. There it is. It's getting see. This is what the radio. Those watching the video, that's what the radio would look like if we were having an earthquake right now, moving around like that. All right, we've got the big radio in view, and we'll go back to you for some big audio over.
There you go. That is my radio that you're hearing right now. Nice 5x7 speaker and the nice big S or the dial up there. It's really nice and easy to see. I see that the modulation light is peaking and blinking when I'm speaking, so it must be doing something.
No, it sounds good. Sounds very good. You've got a modulation, the mod light. Also, the meter might move. I don't know if it does SRF automatically. Can't go wrong there. You could operate that in the winter with the gloves on. The knobs are big, switches are big, and for me, I probably wouldn't even need my glasses. At least I could tell which side the meter was pointing on. Tram TR27E, the last of the TR27 line, I believe, and this is from 1963. I'm going to switch over. Can I do that? Let me go back here. I'm going to switch over to the printed advertisement out of an S9 magazine. No, CB Horizons magazine is where our credits will go, and we'll go back to you for another transmission.
There you go. Yeah, this was the last in the TR27 series, and I think it was the only one that actually had all 23 crystals put in. The others, you had different ones you could get, but this was the first one that were all 23 transmit and receive. Of course, the receive's variable, so yeah, it had all of them there.
Not bad for 1963 when most of the radios, well, not most, but at least from that 5-year period had been coming out with 1 or 2 channels, no S meters. Again, it was communications between base and mobile. It wasn't hobby stuff. So they figured you didn't need anything. Tram knew better. Look at this ad. Tram Electronics, P.O. Box 187, Department 10A in Winnisquam, New Hampshire. We don't have a lot of New Hampshire. Where's the New Hampshire stations out there? We know where all our Ohio radio manufacturers are, and are we going to get some WRL radios tonight? I don't know, but where's the New Hampshire? New Hampshire. Where's the New Hampshire guys? They even gave you a service trip. Tram service tip number 1 when tuning the 31.5 megacycle first conversion receive oscillator coil L2 tuned for maximum DC voltage at pin 7 of the 6BK7 V2, then looking at the coil from the bottom of the set, turn the slug counterclockwise to drop the grid pin 7 voltage 2 volts. This results in optimum oscillator stability. And notice there was no warning about, what not to touch and to not kill yourself. Tram service tip number 1 right on their ad. Pretty cool for 1963. And sounding good here in 2019. And I believe you are running what typically would be the Collins radio microphone, but it is made for those high impedance glow-in-the-dark radios. Back to you.
Yeah, I actually tried about 5 different microphones on this thing, and this is the one that worked the best. Definitely the clearest, so we went ahead and left this one on there. And besides, I kind of like this thing. It's big and heavy and a nice chunk of metal. Also nice and old, so it kind of fits.
Kind of fits, and I guess you've got it wired up right. The old radios, you could wire them wrong, and the microphone like that, if you got too close and touched a part of your face to the microphone, you could probably get shocked. But I think you've got everything correctly wired over there.
Yeah, thankfully. Unfortunately, I found that out with the Browning radio. Do not touch the microphone cord and key it when it's on. Yeah, it's part of the circuit, so this one is not.
Good deal. And Corey mentioning that Tram and DAC is some of the coolest looking 11-meter radios. And I never thought of that, but when you think of the DAC, was it the Mark 9 and the 10, when they went back to the big box, very similar to what Tram did in 1963 with the big meters. Of course, the DAC had 4 of them across that, but I think they were, even though it was a hybrid radio, they were kind of getting into the, let's build what looks like a real radio. And Tram did that right off the bat with the TR27E, the model you have sounding good for Radio 2. Thanks for bringing it by here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Oh, thank you. And with that, I'll be getting another radio ready.
45, if you can hear me.
45, I can hear you now. Over.
Great. I just tuned to you. I'm drifting like crazy on this old radio. I just tuned to you. I'm very good. I'm glad you're able to hear me. Anyway, I'd like to check in my general radio telephone, MC5.
Fooled me on that one. I was trying to guess what you might have on the radio bench. General radio telephone, the MC5. Got a good picture of that. In fact, it may be, yes, it is from your collection. Let me pull that up and switch over to it while I'm talking so we don't get the audio glitch over your audio. And I'll talk a little bit so you can, when we get the picture here, what Paul will be doing as I am talking now. This dial right there, if you're watching the video, is the tunable receive. And it looks like you might have crystal control receive, but it looks like you're tuning me in, getting me tuned in. Probably you can watch the S meter. Way to do it is you can watch the S meter and rock the control back to get the most signal out of the S meter. The other way you can do it, on a tunable receive like that, you can kind of tune into the way the audio sounds the best. That might not necessarily mean it would be right on frequency, but the good thing about that is you can dial in off to one of the sidebands and add a little bit more treble punch into the audio. All right, I'm done talking. The picture is up, and we'll go to you for the audio that goes with that radio. Over.
Very good, yeah. There's a breaker. I'll stand by for it.
All right, yeah, don't go away, Paul. Who was the break OTR? Over.
And number 20. Want to check this radio in? I'll wait.
Okay, yeah, don't go away. Head into the green room. There are treats courtesy of Bob and Steve in Ohio, and if the jingle singers haven't used them all up, you're welcome to have some, and we'll get right to you. You'll be Radio 3. So back to the general radio telephone, MC5, Master Control 5. Over to you, Paul, for transmission.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is one of my favorite generals, I think. By now, my favorite one. But this thing has that tone switch on the thing, which I kind of like. I'm sure it irritated a lot of people out there, but it's really neat. And like you mentioned, you could really tune those things in where you could talk to each other and know who was calling by setting the caps right in the thing. Anyway, thanks for checking it, Dennis. Back to you.
Yeah, the nice thing about the tunable receiver is somebody has really bassy or muddy audio. You can tune off to one of the sidebands, and it sounds good. And the other trick is when skip is really running. Sometimes if your station you were trying to listen to locally is a little bit off frequency, or the stations come in were off frequency, you could dial off to the side. I did that with my Regency Imperial. It had the really nice receive VFO, and you'd be able to at least make out a little bit of your local station. Before you go, let me point out, those watching the video, there is a switch underneath the S meter that says, what does that say? Tone signal. This is important. Why? This is important because the MC5 was the last general radio telephone. Was it the first? It was certainly the last to have the tone signal button. Now, I'm not sure what you have to do to engage it. If you have to pull it down or push it up, and if it locks, or you have to keep your finger on that thing, but we'll go back to Paul, and he will give us a demonstration of what happens when the switch for tone signal is slid into a certain position. Over. Yeah, you are coming through it. It's the tone signal and your audio. I'm sure it's generating at 100% audio, I'm sure. And yours is the classic. If I were to grade your tone signal, I would give it an A. An A on tone, quality, an A on intensity, and an A on the oscillation. Not too slow, not too fast. That is a classic, perfect working tone signal. But as you can possibly see, those with malicious intent, and I remember hearing this happening, would be able to perhaps jam a frequency by leaving that on. And I'm thinking that might be why the FCC said, no, we want you to take that out of there. And so in the MC6, they replaced it with, I think it's called the Bullhorn, which would basically be a PA switch. 1962, the tram, our prior tram, 1963. Here's the radio that was the rage for 1962. It was just under $200. Last General Radio with a tone signal. And it runs 7 tubes, believe it or not. All 6-volt tubes, 6BQ5, I think. It's probably the output modulator tube. And at oldtuberadio.com, there is a schematic for that. It sounds good, Paul. Give us another transmission. Make sure you've got everything back in order on that before you go.
Oh, yeah. I'm not in any hurry. I just want to tell you about the microphone here. It's a foam-paid electro voice microphone, checkerboard type. Neat little radio. It's a heavy little mic. But it's small, fits your hand fine if you got smaller or medium hands. So that's about it on the thing. I like the radio real well. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Sounded good. Really nice and loud audio. Just crystal clear. The 5 we check in from Jerry sort of has that weird scratchy sound. Yours is just really strong and clear audio, and I tilted the picture up, panned up so we could see the microphonium you were talking about. And yes, you could take that over to your local Denny's and make some Belgian waffles with that. Sounding good, the Old Tube Radio Network. Radio number, man, I've been so enamored with it, I forgot to write it down. I better write this down before I forget. The General Radio Telephone, MC5, Radio 3. Radio 4 is, and I misspoke, Paul, Harvey, when I said you'd be Radio 3. You'll be Radio 4. Paul's Radio 3 with the General. But while you're walking up to the air chair here, we're going to have the jingle singers come on too, and I'll get everything ready to go here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
Wow, got a lot of... What guys doing over in their studio? A lot of effects on the voices tonight. That's okay. All right, back to the control room here. That's our 9 o'clock ID, if you will. Classic IDs for classic radios, the Old Tube Radio Network. If you're just listening or tuning in, whether you be on 27085 in the Central Valley of California, or perhaps Google YouTube the video, the audio stream at oldtuberadio.net. This is something that we do every Saturday. We've been doing it for well over 30 years, and that is listening for and talking with our tube radio collectors, those classic glow-in-the-dark radios, and we are always appreciative that they take time out of their Saturday evenings to brave the very warm radio shacks here in the summer time in the Central Valley. Now, let me stop talking and say hello to Harvey out on the west side. Hello, SWL20, over.
All right, Dennis. See if you can hear this one. It's a little low on frequency, and I can't adjust it. I've got the cabinet on. Can't do that right now.
Oh, I was just checking your frequency. I hear you great. Your little low is not very low at all. Maybe 100 cycles, 200 cycles. I hear you okay. Audio is a little weak, but I think we're going to be okay over.
Okay. It's got a G104. It's up about halfway, but the head is only about 75%. But it does have a range boost, which I just turned on. I don't know if that made much of a difference.
Wow, actually that does. And this is a good demonstration of the range boost. Typically, the stations with range boost, I'll have a 15 over, 20 over signal, and they're already full quieting, so you don't get the full effect. Yours, we heard all of it. It gets louder, but not mushy and overmodulated, and also brings in, and I'm surprised I can hear it at this signal-to-noise ratio, some low frequencies as well, at least in the headphoniums. For those listening on high fidelity, you might have heard his low frequencies come in. So, yeah, it works either way, but the range boost is working the way you would want it to. Over.
Right. there's a break out there. Go ahead.
And we are in conversation with Radio 4 at 9:05. That's Harvey on a yet to be determined radio, but we know it has a range boost. So that limits it down to a couple of models. But before we get back to Harvey, let's pick up our breaking station, who I believe is going to check in on the SWL list. Over.
Yeah, sorry about that. You know who it is.
And that would be SWL 64. I'm going over to the list here so that not only can I get you checked in on the main page, but on the analog page as well. Jack, thanks for waving a hand to the Old Tube Radio Network.
Thank you very much.
And back to Radio 4. Harvey on the west side. We know it's a little low on frequency, but not bad at all. I wouldn't worry about the frequency, Harvey. And we know that your audio is good on the D104, whether the range boost is on or off. So we'll go back to you. Tell us more about this radio. Over.
Okay. Oh. Now it says I'm a little higher on frequency with that range boost. Let me see. I've had the radio. Had a receive problem, like no receive. Well, you could hear static, but no individual channels. Finally figured out the problem, which was an out-of-tolerance resistor. Found it, fixed it, well, put a new one in. But that leads me to believe there are other resistors that I'll have to check eventually. But I want to get it on the air. Now jumped down frequency-wise from my free counter. That's weird. Okay, well anyway, as long as you can hear it, it's okay. And to also fix the D104, the little electrolytic cap on the preamp board was almost dead. So that was a problem, but it's been replaced. So this is not my radio. In about a week or so, it'll go back to the owner, and he'll be able to put it on the air.
I think the owner will be very pleased. It really has nice, strong, full fidelity audio with the range boost. Even at, it's not, those listening in, it's not a full quieting signal, but the audio is really nice. And I didn't, if you changed frequency, it wasn't more than, I don't know, 10 or 20 cycles. It wasn't much at all. So tell us the radio. If it's a range boost, it could be a Robin. It could be a Lafayette. I'm just not sure, but it's got great audio, and it's pretty much right on frequency. So wherever that one's going, it will be a player for sure.
Okay. Well, that's good. It's a Robin T123D. And as we know, there's no schematic in SAM, but you can use a T schematic, and it's really, really close. But I was fortunate, right when I got this radio to work on,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Check it in. Check it in, Roger D. Check it in right now.
Picked it up, and then found that in the package, which I didn't know about, there were 3 photocopies of the original. So, that's not bad at all. Anyway, the T-Berry schematic is pretty good. And I was able to use it, and along with the original, kind of trace out things. Anyway, I'll turn it back to you. I got to get this off the bench. Hopefully Ed's going to hang out for a while. I think I'm going to try and put another one on the bench.
Hopefully there's room to put it on the bench. The Robin T123B sounding really good. So I think you've got it adjusted perfectly. If you're a loud talker, the D104 and no range boost, or what do they call it in that one? Range expand, whatever it's called. It's called, range expand on the Robin would work. If you're a soft talker, you can probably kick on the range expand and go for it on the D104. Really good. Looks good on the meter, too. Good forward movement. So all the way around, that one is ready to put the post-it saying done. And the next one on the bench. Radio number 4, the Robin T123 Bravo. What can I say about it before we haven't said? 1972 to 1976, this was the Panasonic chassis that sort of carried through everybody through until the FCC changed it to 40 channels and messed things up, at least for this chassis. But it's a 12-volt DC, 115-volt AC, goes mobile or base, 11 tubes, operator manual and schematic at oldtuberadio.com. And I believe this has the 12AX7 in the modulator, yeah, and 6 BQ5 power amp. Thanks, Harvey. It's working well.
Thank you much. We're turning it off, going to the other one.
And Corey, I agree. I think that's the biggest step if you're an old tube radio operator, is getting into the menus. You know, it's like an old tube radio where you have 3 knobs, but the 3 knobs do 150 things, depending on which menu button you press. And now SDR and computer interface. So there's a lot of cool stuff. So I think the modern, and a lot of you out there have this. The modern Radio Shack has what I would call a tube operating position, or a boat anchor position, where you turn them on for old tube radio night or boat anchor night, and then you go over to the other side of the shack and bring up your flex or your SDR or your menu-driven LED, LCD radio display. So you can have the best of both worlds, depending on what you want to do. Ease of operation. The Old Tube Radio Network, we are looking for radio number 5.
Number 7.
I can do that. Let me get you parked in the number 5 spot at 9:14 on the Old Tube Radio clock. Actually, it's the Radio Shack. Remember Radio Shack? It's the Radio Shack Micronta large 2-inch LED display clock. Not quite on the wall. Not quite. It's kind of floating in air. Take a transmission on Radio 5, over.
Okay, well, this time from E.F. Johnson of the Messenger 223.
Thank you for bringing by the E.F. Johnson. We have not had, believe it or not, an E.F. Johnson check-in for some time of any flavor, tube radio or otherwise. Viking 1 or Messenger 2 or this one, the 223. I think those are their 3, at least 11-meter Class D tube radios. I'd love to hear like a Viking Ranger, a Valiant, or a 500. Some of the non-Class D stuff would be pretty cool. What am I showing? I can't show your radio because your radio is different than any of the ones I'm going to show because it's got some modifications. So we'll start, at least picture-wise, with this one because it shows the Johnson microphone that it would be sold with if you were to get a microphone, and this one has the modulation light, which I think yours does not, but it sure sounds good over.
Yes, that is correct. I do not have the modulation light, and this one has the D104 Silver Eagle attached for the microphone, because when I got the radio, I did not have the microphone. It also has blue LEDs instead of the white ones in there, or yellowish. And I got buffalo nickels in the middle of the dials instead of the little lines there that you have on that one.
Buffalo nickels on the dial. We'll have to... I've got some old coin collecting books, probably from 1964-65. They rate things differently now. It's on like a PCGS or PGS something. For those of you coin collectors out there, I'm sort of not saying that right, but we'll have to get the dates and the mint marks off of the, if you can even see them. That would give us our condition: poor, fine, very good, whatever. Get the condition and the date and the mint marks off of the Buffalo nickels, and then run them through the calculator, and we'll find out how much they're adding to the value of your radio. Over.
There you go. Oh, yeah, the Red Book is what you usually use for that, numismatic-wise, coin collecting. So, yeah, these are actually more of the modern ones, so they were put on recently. They're not the old Buffaloes. They're the new version.
Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot. See, I stopped coin collecting 40 years ago, and the Red Book is correct. I'm sure I have a Red Book from 1966 or 67 when I was really into collecting coins. Back in when you could get the old Buffalo nickels in change occasionally, and a Mercury head dime in change occasionally, and the Walking Liberty, the Standing Liberty quarter in change occasionally. But not anymore, I don't think. Or the Lincoln, the wheat back penny. So, okay, well, we'll add 15 cents. I think the nickels now aren't even worth 5 cents, and we're going to only add 12 cents.
There you go, yeah. At least with the older ones, you had real silver instead of all the alloys that you have today. So, yeah, quite a little difference.
Indeed, the radio sounding good. Messenger 223, a manufacturer from 1969 to 1972. It's actually not a bad run for tube radio. Johnson had a lot of other solid-state radios coming out in that time, mobile, the 323 and the 123 and some other radios. $200 is the price point, really a good deal, I think, back then. Sears had their own version, Sears and Roebuck put their name on it. The name, the 223, was basically a Messenger 2. Add 23 channels, put in a bigger cabinet with the S-meter, and you've got a pretty decent radio. The only difference was, I guess, you couldn't run it mobile easily. I guess you could on an inverter, but it didn't have the DC power code to be set up. If you've got a Sam's Photo Fax collection, it will be in book 23, starting on page 53. And I wanted to make a comment. The D104 is a great mic for just about any radio for getting good quality audio. So you can't go wrong with that, and work well with that. Johnson Messenger 223, our Radio 5. I'm not sure what it is in your collection. Give us another transmission. Thanks for bringing it by. Over.
There you go. Thank you. Pleasure to get to run the darn thing every once in a while. Haven't done that in a bit, so glad to do so. And I'll be back with one more.
All right, it has nice crystal clear audio too, just nice. The Old Tube Radio Network, waiting E-skip conditions, your tube radios, your shortwave listener check-ins. The jingle singers are enjoying whatever tasty treats. It's one of those package things that comes all boxed up from Ohio there, and whatever it is, they are enjoying it immensely, and I'm sure there will be, by the time I get out of the air chair here, there will be nothing left but crumbs and that little cellophane stuff in a basket. But that's okay. Looking for radio number 6.
45.
And Paul has made his way to the coiled cord microphonium attached to the RF cable at 9:21 Pacific Daylight Time. Paul, I hope you're still hearing me okay, as you can pick up a lot of the stations across the valley. I hope I'm one of them, and I'd be curious to know what radio you are connected to now. Over.
Okay, well, I kind of jumped a little bit on the General Radio telephone. I'm up to a Super MC8 now.
General Radio Telephone Super MC8. I think that's one of the ones we did not hear last week. And is it the first? I think it's the first to have the name Super, because the MC7 did not. So the first in the Super line, the Super MC8. I remember that as a very loud talking radio. Who was it? Richard Cucumber. When we were doing the early old tube radios before roll call check-ins, and it was just bring your radio, switch down to channel 11, and let's talk on Saturday nights. And I believe when Richard did the net a couple times for net control, when we were doing that type of thing, he used the Super MC8, and I was always enamored at how loud and good the audio quality was on that general radio telephone over, like, say, the MC5 or something. So we'll go back to you for transmission. It is sounding good. Over.
Okay, I've got on my back of my foot, it says talk close. I'm guessing now this be, they say it's a ceramic, but I'm not too sure. It's a little heavy. I might have to look into that. I've written down on the deal that took a ceramic microphone. That's a regular general radio telephone manufactured microphone for it. So the thing is just a neat old radio. It's the start of the Super MC series, and they're starting a slow wave. Boy, they're getting real fast. This has 9 tubes in the thing, and it has a turn tuner like the MC7 on it, which is nice. Few switches on the front, but one thing nice about this thing is the 6ALL tubes. We've got 3 of them in there, and a lot of other tubes that are very inexpensive. So that helps a lot. They sure change that coming up in the next one. MC9 took care of that. Back to you, Dennis.
Yeah, that's a good point, mentioning the tubes, some of which these days are unobtainium. I always feel for the stations running the Siltronics. And I think some of those was the Comanche that have the 8950 tubes, which were $10, and now you're lucky to find them for $100. The Super MC8 that you are running has all, I'm looking, it looks like it's all 6-volt tubes, 6BQ7, 6AL11, things that you can find in most of your tube parts box. The audio is good. You could probably even back away from the microphone if you're not too far away and sound just fine. But don't make any quick moves if you don't have to. I'm going to just break for a second. SWL13, hello, Mike, Mr. Cobra. It's waving a hand at oldtuberadio.net. Michael, I will get you checked in. The Super MC8 is 23 channel. I can't remember if the MC7 was or not. It also added the 24th channel, which was the Civil Air Patrol at 26,620 megacycles. It will go 12-volt DC if you have the right cable. That shows up in Sam's Photo Fax CB13. And according to some notes left by SWL3, there was one that sold on eBay in nice working condition back at the beginning of 2018 for $87. So from the $200 originally in probably 1965 or so, that's not a bad deal. Try another transmission and see how the microphone's working.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm happy you checked this in. I'll tell you, I like the Joe's radios very much, and this is just part of the bunch I've got. And this is good. They started the changing the face on this one, and from then on they went up till the FCC shut them off for the MC12. But they're beautiful radios. Thanks for checking in, Dennis.
They are built out of Burbank, California. And who was it? JT saying the guys on the East Coast don't see a lot of those. They see the ones that were manufactured out that way, but I guess they're a little bit rare. I don't know. They made their way across the Mississippi. That's one of those west of the Mississippi radios. And they are prized in the collections out on the east side, but here on the west coast, we seem to have quite a few of them. They all sound good. Radio number 6, that's Paul on the General Radio Telephone Super MC8. And I'll stand by. Jingle Singer's not quite ready yet, but we'll be listening for radio number 7.
Number 7.
And we will take radio number 7. I hear Mr. Ed. You know what? I have a couple things I have to do. First, I have to go to the SWL check-in list and say hello to Mr. Cobra and put that up. And then, as Ed checks into the air chair here at 9:27, was there another breaking station for OTR?
Yeah, 49 around here.
And 49. All right. Brian, stand by. You'll be radio 8. If indeed you have a radio, we'll pick you up after Ed here, see what's going on. Hello, 7, over.
Well, this time, checking in the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
From Browning Laboratories, another radio like the Robin T123B that was produced from 1972 to 1976. Its hopes only dashed because it wasn't a true 40-channel radio. I think the receiver, and you can help me out on this one, I think the receiver will go to 40 channels, but I know the transmitter doesn't, at least out of the box. Over.
That is correct. The transmitter does not, but the receiver definitely goes beyond the 40 channels. In fact, I can see right here is going, it's 435 with 13, so it goes a little ways farther.
Now, I'm wondering if you were to have a 1972 model Mark III receiver, if it would do that as well, or as the year started approaching to 1976, and it was pretty obvious that you're just waiting for the FCC to bang the gavel and say, yeah, we're going to channelize this, that they changed that. So that's my question that doesn't have an answer. If all of the Mark III big receivers, early models, had the same sort of receive capabilities built in up through 40 channels, that would have been interesting. That they did that. And at that time, let's see, people were using the VFOs, because that's when I was around. I had the Regency Imperial, and Channel 16 was a sideband channel, but there was a lot of people, 1972, going up above 23 and below Channel 1. And it was certainly not illegal from FCC standpoint to have your receiver wherever, right? But transmitter, a different story. You're sounding good. Take a transmission, and who's ready? We're looking at Cliff's radio, but I think he's got the Golden D104, which I think you have as well.
That is correct. I have the Golden Eagle D104 also attached, so I guess that's a double Golden Eagle. Double Eagle.
That is worth the price of admission right there on that radio for sure. The Browning Golden Eagle. I was looking for some info, and then all of a sudden the computer said, no, we're not going to give you the info on that. Well, I think, I was looking for the price. It says $650 to $750. Imagine the $650 is probably the 1972 price, and the $750 is the 1976 price. AM SSB, they'd make an AM model of that, and the difference would be the smaller, more compact transmitter, and would also be about $200 lighter if in the pocketbook.
Oh, there you go. We definitely have the longer version. It goes quite a ways across the table. Takes almost up 3 feet. It takes up quite a bit of table there.
Your radio real estate, not bad for $700. Well built, and still priced today. Still commanding a lot of cash here in 2019. I think you have the selectable ping switch, which was a popular mod, and I think you were sparing us tonight the Long Eagle Screech, but that's okay. Maybe, I don't know how convenient it is to change that, but we'll go back to you for another transmission, and then we've got a radio computer man. Brian is in the green room. I definitely want to get him up as Radio 8. It's been a long time since we've had him check in live and direct here from the Central Valley, so it'll be interesting to see what he's got. Always like to hear the Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Back to you for transmission. Thanks for bringing it by.
And there you go with a little bit ping for you, and we'll go ahead and let you get to the next radio. Thanks a lot.
When you have the larger capacitor in there, it allows you to orchestrate. You can be like Zubin Mehta. You can orchestrate the ping as you key down. Radio 7. Thanks for that. We know we're going to go to the Jingle Singers, and as Brian is stepping up into the air chair, let me see if I can get the Jingle Singers to get their attention here. And they will tell us, yes, they will tell us about the friendly place to be, and that is your Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. In our 34th, 35th year, I've lost track of doing what we do, and that is basically listening for your radio collections here on Channel 11. And get on the air night. Maybe a lot of you listening have that. It may not be old radios, vintage radios, but it's an encouragement to get in the Radio Shack and fire something up. Many of us remember the days when these radios were brand new, and depending on where you were at in a big city, you would have to wait a long time just to break in to get a free channel to have a 5-minute conversation. But the radio's still the same. That's where we're here. Radios, and also the personalities of the people on the AM mode. That's, when you're on the AM is the nice 6 kilohertz wide audio, the personality of the operator. He or she really shines through, and we appreciate that. It is my pleasure now to welcome SWL 49, Brian the Computer Man, into the air chair at 9:34, and we have not heard Brian, at least live. I think sometime not too long ago we had some skip conditions coming in, but it is a treat to hear you back in the local area and take a transmission. Over.
Yeah, it was good to be back. There's no place like home. We enjoyed Wisconsin for a few years there, and again, it was very nice. But like they say again, there's no place like home, Dennis. But we are bringing by tonight our Browning Eagle R27 and the S23 transmitter combination.
The original Browning of the first Browning laboratories to have an Eagle name on it, the R27 S23 combination. I do have a shot here. I'm going to use the one, I think it's from Joe's Yogi Bear's collection. It includes the business band amplifier, which you may or may not have, but we'll put it in the picture. Just give that disclaimer. It's got great audio. It looks good on the signal. I may, on the video, put in the S meter as well. Just really, really smooth audio. For a Browning, to have that kind of smooth audio is very unusual. But it definitely sounds like a Browning. Give us a transmission and tell us what you're doing over there.
Okay, well, we are simply on the old basic B104 microphone here, and depending upon the picture that you have, this may or may not be the radio in the picture. I know that Yogi had 2 pairs of these radios, and I acquired one of the sets from him. So again, depending upon which picture that is, you may be looking at the radio that I'm on. Also have the customized B104 to go with the beautiful set of radios here. The base of the B104 has been powder coated in the darker brown and lighter brown combo there to match the set of the radios, as well as the B104 head with the ring being the darker brown, and as well as the back of the microphone. So it's really a beautiful, fantastic looking set here for the Browning R27 S23, and very proud to own them.
As an operator or a driver, so a lot of the SWLs, the thrill sometimes is sitting in the driver's seat, and Brian gave us a really good word's eye view of what it's like to sit there. And of course, as SWLs, we're on the receiving end of the very smooth and nice sounding transmitter. I'm going to switch over on while I'm talking here to the S meter. I want people to see his signal is just over my noise, but I just want you to hear the audio coming out of that radio for something that is not a full quieting sound to have that much of audio punch. That is the old tube radio sound. That is the Browning Eagle. That's why people hang on to these radios. So back to you, sir, for a transmission. I will also do a frequency check, find out where that is in relation to center frequency, but it sounds pretty good here. Over.
Well, we appreciate it, and we are excited to hear. When plugging it back in and transmitting on it, but great to hear that it's still working good. Looks beautiful sitting up here on the shelf of the new radio room here at the new house. I used to be probably, I think, about 10 miles closer to you. So again, coming in at an S8 off of 3 or 4 watts with an antenna that's probably no higher than 15 feet or so off the ground. Hey, I'll take that any day. So we thank you very much for checking this in for us, and hey, we might have a couple more here in the shop that I can bring by tonight. So thank you, and hope you fellas are all staying nice and cool out there and having a great evening.
Indeed. So if you watch the video playback, and it'll be up, you will see the radio. I may have lucked out and actually brought up the picture of the radio that's sitting on the desk there. You will also see the S meter, and at that signal just above my noise, you will be impressed with how clear and clean the audio is, and just easily copied. Good forward movement on the modulation. And when I switched over to the sideband, I think I zero-beated you at 27084.85. So pretty much very close on frequency. It hasn't jumped around or moved too much at all. Radio number 8 you just heard was the Browning Golden Eagle R27 S23 combination. The R for the receiver, and the S, I think Kevin told me, is for the sender or the sending unit. The old tube radio network, real radios going in the dark. Thanks for that one, and we're listening for radio number 9.
37.
And look who has wandered into the designated radio area of the QTH.
It must have been me.
Indeed, I'm writing 37 down in hopes that you might have radio 9. Over.
Yes, I think I may have radio number 9 here, so I'll go ahead and check in my general radio telephone, the Super MC11A. Hey, this is a 24-channel radio on the AM side right here, and we run this here with a handheld stock microphone. Over.
General radio telephone sounding good. What did we have earlier? We had the Super MC8. This is almost, but not quite, the last of the Super series, the MC11. Let me move over to the picture while I'm talking and up the audio here. You're at about 5 dB over S9. Super duper audio as always. We have just the greatest picture for those who want to see what it's like to drive this radio. That's if you were sitting in front of the radio, grabbing onto the rack handles and taking a transmission here on Channel 11. Back to you.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it seems to be working. I don't have to grab the handles too much. It's more or less kind of stationary right there where it's, sitting at here. So, yeah, it saves me a lot of trouble having to grab it and pull it somewhere.
Well, at 17 pounds or 20 pounds, whatever that radio weighs with its 9 tubes and 2 transistors, you want to be very careful. But at least it's got the rack handles that help you tote it in. It's not really rack mountable. I don't think it ever came with what they call the rack ears, and it's not 18 1/4 inches. I think you'd have to make some custom rack ear panels to put in the rack, but it would look nice in a rack. 9 tubes is making all that noise, helped out by the 12AX7, no doubt, in the mic preamp, and the secret weapon for General Radio Telephone was the modulator output ECLL 800 tube, which I think was in all or most of, maybe that's why they called it Super MC Radio Series. Radio number 9, the GRT. It's sounding good. I'm glad you wandered through. We'll go back to you for transmission. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, Mitch, I'll be back with another one here in a minute. I got some stuff boiling on the stove here. I got to make me some tuna for tomorrow. Getting the boiled eggs, but I will be back with another here shortly.
And if you were running the correct old tube radio, what is it, like a Pierce Simpson, one of those radios that runs really hot, you could be boiling the tuna on the top of the radio. It wouldn't have to leave the Radio Shack. This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Real Radio's Glowing in the Dark. Glad you could join us this evening, whether you're SWLing at channel 11-27085. No conditions at all this evening so far and today, or maybe you are watching us live or listening to us live at oldtuberadio.net, the Google YouTube. Maybe it is sometime way in the future or the past. This is something we do every Saturday evening here in Central California, beginning at 8 p.m. Pacific time, and we hope you can join us. We're looking for Radio 10. You know, it made a little squeaking sound, and then your voice came through. I think we could give it a try. Over.
Okay. I gotta do a little work on this one. It works, but the manual sync switch is broken, so I had to kind of go underneath it. Wire it. It's intermittent. Try to wire it. I haven't done much tuning on this, but I have to do that too. But right now it's working.
It's working, or as SWL25's German boss would say, it's working. I know it's pinging. Which model of Browning Laboratories are you sitting in front of? Over. Oh, all right. I'm assuming it's not the one that I'm used to hearing from that location, but I could be wrong. I'll switch over to an advertisement so people can see this combination, the larger receiver and the AM transmitter. I think with the R68, T68 combination, did they have the sideband adapter yet, or is that only for, did it only come out during the Mark II?
As far as I know, it's just the Mark II.
All right, I don't know what the year build on this was. 1967, yeah, 67, 68. The sideband radios were just starting to come in. 66, 67, the Tram was double sideband. The Regency was double sideband. The imports, the Yaesu and wasn't an import, but Siltronics coming in later than that. So that's probably what prompted them to come up with the Mark II, because they could do all the sideband stuff. $395, just under $400, which you might expect to pay for this radio back in 1967. There was a Series 1 and a Series 2. Series 2 transmitter has the lighted on the air light rather than the spotlight on the Series 1, and then some receivers have a variable RF gain. And if you told me I didn't mark it down, is that a Series 1 or a Series 2? Over.
This is the one with the on-air light and the pre-positioned position switch. Radio today tuning, and the ceramic have a chassis or two ahead. So anyway, I'll have to look, and I got to put one of those in, and then do some tuning, and check all the tunes.
Very good. You're sort of on the wrong side of my noise level, so it's definitely not full quieting. The audio clarity and the punch is where it should be for a Browning Eagle, but because you are, like I said, on the wrong side of my noise level, it doesn't, if you listen to the playback, it's not sounding very loud, but I can copy you 100%, so whatever peeking and tweaking you're doing, I think it is working. On your next transmission, I think you're strong enough for me to do a zero beat. We'll get your, if you're curious, I know you've got all the gadgets you need, but I'll give you a frequency report here, over. That's the way it works. Check the frequency, and you are correct. It is low. I'm getting you at about 27,084,200. So you're right in that FCC 700 cycle zone that they'd like you to stay in there. So a little on the low side, but it's sounding... I'm not noticing that on the wide receiver. Radio 10 in the double digits tonight, the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68 Series 2. This would be the radio that showed up after what Brian checked in, the R27 S23, which was the Eagle. Then they came out with the Golden Eagle, but not the Mark II. Maybe some people call this the Mark I, or the Mark, what does Jerry call it? The Mark None. But it's the R68 T68. Sounding good, and I don't think you'll have too far to go to get it to where you want it to be.
Well, some things aren't working on it, but it's working enough. So I'll just have to put the new switch in, and then see how she functions. Okay, I will let you go, and I'll check in one more radio. And that should do it. And if that's out there, just say hello and let me know you heard me.
Who are you looking for? Over?
Ed.
Okay, he may not be able to hear you through his static. If you are out there, Ed, Harvey is, as they say on CB radio, waving a hand.
And hello, Harvey. Yeah, you're right in my noise level. I got some ticky stuff over here that's kind of wiping you out. I can hear you, but I can't really make you out.
Okay. Is that any better there?
Oh, my Lord, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's still not doing what it should. But there's something. Okay, I'll let you go, and I'll get her in the best shape I can. We'll talk to you later. I got one more to check in.
I'll copy that. Sounds good to me, man. We'll listen for you a little bit later.
Yeah, that brought things up. You're not quite matched with the Harvey range boost there, so the audio gets a little bit rough, but it's good. Heard you both ways around, and see that's the sneaky thing. If you're local and you're not hearing the station that I'm talking to, but I'm hearing them, you can always go to oldtuberadio.net and and you can cheat a little bit. Sometimes I wish I could dial into a lot of, you have great receivers better than mine. I could dial into your radios and listen in that way. What am I doing? I want to say hello. Oh, I wanted to check in and say hello to X4000, beaconing from Brentwood, where he secretly beams his radio signal up to the International Space Station, and somehow it comes beaconing down around the truck stop there at wherever it is out of Chowchilla and bounces down 99 and makes it into the receiver here at Old Tube Radio Network. We're looking for Radio 11. The Jingle Singers are at the ribbon microphone, so let's do them. And there still is time to get your radio check-ins here at the Old Tube Radio Network.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
We are looking for Radio 11.
How about that one?
You mean that one, this one, that one?
Yeah. Let's try this one here. This is my Golden Beagle R68 T68.
Yeah, sounds good. For an S8 to S9, and it's got all the stuff going on with the audio. So I guess your hopes is to make prior R68 T68 as close to this current R68 T68 as possible.
Oh yeah, that's what I'd like to do. Huh. Yeah, I guess it is my watt meter that's screwing up. Anyway, I've got a watt meter problem now.
You know, it's always something. And this radio is matched with the Harvey Range Boost because you get louder and stronger and better, and it looks good on the S meter as well. But either way, I'm getting louder too. Sorry to the audio keeps up here. Sorry to the SWLs that may be listening. Get a readjustment there. As always, it sounds good either way.
Okay. Yeah, it's the watt meter. The who meter? The what meter? Okay, yeah, I like this one.
Well, is it a bird watt meter?
Yeah, I like that. I wish it was. Nah, it's a power scanner, but one of the adjustments is out of adjustment, and I have to fix that puppy. I know what it should read, and it's not reading, and unfortunately, that made some other radios read wrong. So now I know those weren't as bad as I thought. Okay. I'll let you go. This is the R68 T68 from Browning Laboratories. Okay. Proxy me in for next week. And also do 84 and his family. His antenna kind of got hit by lightning.
Again?
And I visited his place. And you should see what it did to it. It hit it near the base of the bottom of the antenna and made it bend over. So it's like a drooping noodle.
Wow, this is not the drooping noodle frequency. That is about the fourth lightning strike that I've heard, and normally we don't get them in this area, and I was thinking he had some strike issue before, but I think he's kind of out in an open area there. Well, I hope there wasn't much wackiness going on. Who was it? It was Brian, KUH, I think, said he was also hit by lightning. Or maybe it was a lion. Maybe there's a lion in the Radio Shack hit by lightning as well and really messed up some things, so we just never know. Also, I want to say hello to Tim Tron out there in the Northwest where we have absolutely no conditions. Is listening in. And I hope you, Tim, I hope you have not been hit by lightning. I have not been hit by lightning. My antennas are too low. So when I get my antennas where they're supposed to be, then I'll have to worry about that. All right, Harvey, it's sounding good, and good luck on the R68 T68 number 2.
Hey, Roger. Okay, now, this is an unamp D104, and I was using the same mic on that radio. The gain wound up halfway in this radio, but I have no idea on the other. So, and I have no idea on the tube. So we'll check it all out. Okay, catch you later. I'm shutting things down because it's still hot in here. Talk to you later.
It is warm. It is warm tonight. I don't know what the outside temperature is. I will find out shortly. When I jump outside, it's 82 in the shack. That's good. Last year, we were in the 90s because I didn't have my cooling system working at all. So this is a treat. The radios, I don't know if the radios are having that. I know the net controller is certainly a lot happier. Ready to count them out if you're needing to get checked in. Now's the time to do it as we approach the end of the Old Tube Radio Network for this first week of July in 2019. I've kind of been sitting quietly in the chair tonight, and I have not felt any rocking or rolling sensations. So hopefully all our wayward faults have decided that they're going to behave here in California. OTR is standing by and looking for radio number 12.
37.
All right, we got 37. Step up into the air chair. Chris, we'll make you radio 12. Was there another station breaking?
49.
And that's 49, over?
Correct.
Okay. We'll pick you up after Chris. So at 9:59, Christopher has the coiled cord microphonium. I think it's a coiled cord. Some of the really old radios don't have a coiled cord in his hand and ready to take a transmission. Go ahead, sir, over.
Well, this one does have a coiled cord, and actually it's kind of warm from sitting on the side of the radio. They've been sitting here warming up for about an hour or so. But anyway, I got to check these in real quick. I got 3 of them here, so I'm going to check this one in first. This is the Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver, 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark. And we're running this to here with the original handheld stock microphone. Over.
Chris 23 Plus sounding good. I will grab a quick photo of the 23 Plus. Get it in the frame there. This is one of the Panasonic chassis that would be similar to the Robin T123B, although they didn't include the range boost on this one. It looks like they put in a PA CB switch, but it sounds good. Give us a transmission, one more transmission before you go.
Okay, here's one more transmission. I got it in first gear, and well, it could be in high gear. I don't know. It's one of those gears right there that it ain't going to stop. It's going to keep on going till the day the tubes give up. But anyway, Dennis, this is it for this one. I'll be back with another one as soon as you finish that one that you're going to get on.
All right, like the Energizer Bunny just keeps going. Thanks for Radio 12. The Chris 23 Plus, one of the Panasonic chassis out of Japan, 23 channels, synthesized, AM plate modulated, will go 12-volt DC with the proper cable and does have 11 tubes with the 12 AX7. And the audio and the output, I believe, is a 6BQ5. Thanks for bringing that back. All right, let me see if I am able to copy properly, and I believe it is Brian, SWL 49. Are you still on frequency? Over.
37 FDM.
I am, I believe.
All right, let's give it a try. The audio is a bit weak, but I think I can pull you through for Lucky Radio 13 at, what do we call it, 10:02. Give me a transmission and let me know what radio you are on. Over.
Okay, Maureen, we'll really try to get in the microphone here. Well, this is Music Radio, the old Robin T240D, otherwise known as the Yellowbird. Just wanted to quickly bring her by here towards the end of the show and see if she was still doing her thing. Don't know how the audio is being released, but, you know, again, these radios shut on this shelf for a while, so you never know. Thank you for doing your check-in for me again.
All right, we'll pop a picture up. The Robin T240D Yellowbird. This is similar to the 123B, but it is the version where they've added the 40 channels. The audio is actually good. I think, unlike, what was the radio that you were on before, the Browning, where you were on the good side of the noise level, this radio is sort of on the downside of the noise level. So the audio is coming through, but the noise level is fighting you out a little bit. So it'll be interesting if you've got a watt meter. This one might not quite have the output of the Browning, maybe a watt or two less. There's a good picture of the Yellowbird with the yellow stripe across the bottom, and if you've got the original knobs, it should have the yellow inserts on the knobs. This was produced from, let's see, 1976, I think. It's a Panasonic chassis out of Japan. I've got some information on the beginning of the year. One of these sold on eBay. It said new old stock, so it would have been unused out of the box for $660. And then after that, another one sold for $229. You know, one of those ones where it powers on, but we won't tell you about it. So we're glad that one is here working. Give us another transmission before you go on the Robin T240D. Over.
Now, I also have the T123B, which you said had pretty low audio as well. You never know, at one time I may have been experimenting with these radios and turned the audio way down and turned them to coincide with, some audio injection from the board. So you just never know. But, yes, just you want to still on it, and actually still kind of doing this thing. So I'm going to get in there and see what's going on and try to bring the audio up. But let's face it, Robin just didn't kind of sound like a Brown. So, thanks again, and thank you very much for the show, Dennis.
All right. Well, thanks for bringing the radios by. I think these were saying that they're plate modulated. The quality is good. It's nice and strong in there. It's just we're working with the noise level. I don't think you even move the meter. I've got the RF gain back down a little bit, so you get a constant. People looking at the meter, you get that constant S7. And I'm running. Do the preamp on? Yeah, the preamp. The IPO is out, so the preamp. In effect, the preamp is on, so it makes a little bit of noise. But I think we're just fighting the ground wave conditions, but still good on the T240D. And indeed, the modulation percentage might be good. It's just the noise level thing. Thanks for Radio 13, making it through there, Mr. Brian, on that. And we will go to Radio 14 that is standing by, and Chris is at the microphone. Hello, 37.
And 37 here, once again. Well, this time here, Dennis, I'm going to check in my G PowerMate, the Gem Marine Products, 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark. This is the pretty blue one, and we run this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop.
What was the song about Lolly, Lolly, Lollipop? Radio we're showing right now is the one from your collection. Blue case. Green light. Let's see. Yeah, it'll be a green light now, and then you're going to make the light red when you press the mic button.
Lollipop, lollipop, you betcha. But yeah, that's excuse me. But yeah, it's the red light is on right. You had the green light on. I'm on the red light. Means you got to stop. I got to talk. And when the green light comes on, you get to talk and I stop. How's that?
Sounds good. And in keeping in with the format here, the last couple of radios, I do believe this is also a Panasonic chassis, similar to the 240D and the 123B. And let's see what else. The Chris 23 Plus, the Gem Marine Products G PowerMate. Sounding good all the way around here on Channel 11. Thanks for bringing it by.
Well, I'm getting ready to flip the switch as soon as I change the mic head, and I will be on another one.
All right, getting ready to count them out here. The Old Tube Radio Network listening for Radio 15, and I know we're going to get it with Chris here shortly, but if anybody else wants to jump in, we'll take you. And what we can do is the Jingle Singers.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
37.
Hi there. Just trying to get Jingle Singers to... All right. It's like they want to do more, but, you know, you guys can only do so much. We want to get radios checked in, and we're doing that right now. Tell us about your one more, over.
Okay, well, this time here, I'm on my Courier Royale. This is also a 23-tail tuber, and it glows in the dark. This is one with all the knobs in the front, you know, for quieting, sensitivity, squelch, volume, blah, 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 and all the other stuff, and sensitivity, and, of course, the big channel selector. And then it's got that hidden one in the back for the mic carrier, mic gain, yes, mic gain. Sorry about that. But it's got that in there. And we are running this here also with a D104 amplified microphone.
As we said earlier, can't go wrong with the D104 on most radios. Now, unlike the other radios, this is not a Panasonic chassis clone. I do believe this was made in the good old USA, probably Courier's last tube radio. As you mentioned, they're top of the line out of a 3 set. I think there was a Courier 23 Plus and some other radio. This was the top of the line that probably sold for very close to $300, if not more. And in theory, according to the advertisements, was built for the CEO of Courier to be his personal best of the best radio. 11 tubes, a service manual if you're into peaking and tweaking, available at oldtuberadio.com. Various 6 and 12 volt tubes. Looks like a 6BQ5 in the output. And the cool thing that probably put the price up, but really is a good thing for your receiver, is the Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter, which typically wasn't found except in very expensive radios. So that's a good thing. If you look down in the vents there and you see what looks like a really skinny metal tube, that's probably the mechanical filter. Back to you.
Yeah, I think I can see it right there. It's looking up at me, got a weird looking top on it right there. Like it's got a little hole in it or something, I don't know. Actually, there's a couple of them like that in here.
Really a work of art. You can search the Collins mechanical filter, and Art Collins and the gang came up with those, I don't know, back in the 50s or 40s for their classic transmitter and shortwave receivers, and it's pretty solid design, so good things. Thanks for radio. What number are you? Radio 15 with the Courier tonight. Thanks for working overtime in the radio room.
You betcha, Dennis. And that guy in Colorado, I told you I'd have on this weekend if you got it tuned in.
Well, let me see. We still got some people who are listening in to the wee hours of Sunday morning now, depending on where they're at. Maryland, Delaware still in there. The Southern California stations are in. Also Washington and New Jersey. Also, where is, we've got, I don't know if that's Nottingham Forest tuning in out of Blackpool. Trying to bring up Google Maps, but it's coming slow. Yeah, our station in the UK, and then also another one. Let's see where that's from. Might be out in the UK. That's in Queensland. Listening in, and we haven't heard the Pacific coming through on the gray line for quite some time. OTR counting and amounting and calling for any last radio check-ins.
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us.
Old Tube Radio.
And be modern.
Let me jump back into the control room in on the camera as we try and be as modern as possible. This is not a Browning Eagle. This is a Hawk, I think, is whatever logo I'm displaying here on the tragic wardrobe that I've got here tonight. Wardrobe, the Old Tube Radio Network control operator wardrobe, courtesy of probably Target or JCPenney or Kohl's, I don't know. More likely the thrift store bin. When you can't find a decent radio, just go pick up a 50 cent t-shirt. Looking around to make sure I don't see any or smell any smoke. I think we've made it through the evening here. I do hear some fireworks going off in the background. I don't know if it broke the noise gate or not. Let's do the counting and amounting. I'm waiting. I'm sort of stalling here for the Mr. Announcer to do what he's supposed to be doing. Okay, now they're stumbling into the microphone. Here we go.
This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. It's time now for the current OTR totals.
Yeah, I can't officially give you totals unless I have the total jingles. Thank you, everybody. You can go back to the treat basket now. SWLs, we had a total of 58. Not bad. Not quite a holiday weekend. 4th of July was on a Thursday, but probably a lot of people out and about. Really nice summer-like, not too hot, but hot enough weather here in the Central Valley, where, yet again, in the air chair, I did not feel anything moving and shaking. We hope all those up in the hills of Ridgecrest are doing okay. That last 7.1 jolt is a pretty decent size temblor if you are right on the epicenter, which you are if you're in Ridgecrest. They shake a lot more violently rather than like they do here when you're 100 miles away, like you're on the end of the bell or something. Here we go. We had 13 check-ins on page 1, 12 on page 2, 13 on page 3, and a whopping 20 on page 4 for a total of 58. And 15 radio check-ins with the Brownings kind of running away with things tonight. 6 of those check-ins were Brownings, 3 were General Radio telephones. We'll go over the list. We're glad to get any and all radio manufacturers glowing in the dark. Started off with the Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV, their last tube radio. I don't know if it was semi-hybrid or not, but their last offering of any note, I suppose. The Mark IV, sounding good, Paul, for Radio 1. Radio 2, Mr. Ed on the Tram TR27E. You like big radios, big meters, and big knobs, this is the one for you. Sounding good. The General Radio Telephone MC5 was radio number 3. That was from Paul, and a good demonstration of the tone signal. So hello to Mountain View. That is the Google bots tuning in. I hope out there in Mountain View, your favorite tube radio has checked in. Technology has advanced, but not so far. Radio number 4, the Robin T123 from the bench of Harvey on the west side, sounding very good, nice audio and a good signal. So wherever that one is going, back to its rightful owner, I hope that we hear it on the air, because it did, and it will sound nice. Radio number 5 tonight was Mr. Ed on the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. Those darn Sugalsots, that's for sure. Radio number 6, the General Radio Telephone Super MC8, one we didn't hear last week. The first of the Super Series, I think, with the ECLL 800 tubes, sounding good, Paul, for Radio 6. Radio 7, SWL7 on the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, one of the 6 Brownings tonight, followed by Computer Man on the Browning Golden Eagle R27 S23 with super duper audio for an S8 signal on the Browning, nice and smooth. Radio number 9, Chris on the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A. Radio number 10 tonight, Harvey on the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68 number 1. That's the bench radio that's being tested. I think it's almost there on the transmitter. There are some pieces and parts that he's trying to replace and get going. So good luck on that. Just a reminder that the audio is archived. If you want to give yourself a radio check, or you were testing something, want to hear back 2 ways, you can go to oldtuberadio.net, click on the archive button. The OTR magnetophone will load all those little 3-inch reel-to-reel tapes, and you can listen to it on your Universal Media Net web audio player, or supposedly, if the Google bots don't take us down, you can rewatch the video, the Old Tube Radio Network Live for July 6, 2019. And we leave those up for a while. Here's the replay. Radio 11 was the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68. That was the Browning Lavatories radio from Harvey. Radio 12, Chris on the Chris 23 Plus. Lucky 13 was Brian tonight on the T240D, not doing bad. Peeking out of my noise level. Radio 14, the Gem Marine Products G Power Mate from Chris, and Radio 15 also from Chris, the infamous Courier Royale. Thanks, everybody, for your participation. I know sometimes it's hard to break away from whatever you're doing on Saturday evening, but we appreciate when you do. It makes for a great radio network here. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com, keeping the Nixie tubes running, and thanks to all of you, SWLs and tube radio operators alike, that keep us going for these 35 years on the Old Tube Radio Network. Hopefully you can do something similar if you're not already where you are, and get on the air night and do what you used to do long ago. Have fun on the CB radio. Good night, everybody. We will talk to you later. Hopefully we'll get some good radio conditions in the upcoming weeks so you can all put up your antennas and check out the radios. Good night.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for all you do at OTR Net Control and Bozo.
I'm going to head over and see if there's anything left in the goodie basket up there where the jingle singers seem to be exiting the building. I think it's going to be the bad part of the popcorn. and say goodnight on the video channel.